Namaste and Jai Sita Ram, devotees. First and foremost, we do want to apologize for the delay in getting started. I had a little technical issue this morning with some of the setup, and I had forgotten one of the parts at home, so I know he's not going to see this, but I want to say thank you to my big dada, my only dada really, Mahendra, for bringing some of those pieces here. But with that being said, devotees, we'll go ahead and get started with our Sunday morning service, and we'd like to welcome each and every one of you to a regular Sunday morning satsang. स्वागत सब जन इस मंदिर हो, भक्ति की स्वाति की धार, सुंदर सुमधुर गान हमारो, रंजन सब नर नार. स्वागत सब जन इस मंदिर हो, भक्ति की स्वाति की धार, सुंदर सुमधुर गान हमारो, रंजन सब नर नार. ईश सगुण निर्गुण विनाशी, माता पिता यार. ईश सगुण निर्गुण विनाशी, माता पिता यार. और माए हम वास्त सदाही, और माए हम वास्त सदाही, और हम संसार. स्वागत सब जन इस मंदिर हो, भक्ति की स्वाति की धार, सुंदर सुमधुर गान हमारो, रंजन सब नर नार. सनातन धर्म राम राम भावे, वेद प्रकाशन कार. सनातन धर्म राम राम भावे, वेद प्रकाशन कार. कन्न भखंड ओथल खावे, कन्न भखंड ओथल खावे, ज्ञान जगत उजियार. स्वागत सब जन इस मंदिर हो, भक्ति की स्वाति की धार, सुंदर सुमधुर गान हमारो, रंजन सब नर नार. वेद को भावन दूर भगावे, आए यहाँ पर प्यार. वेद को भावन दूर भगावे, आए यहाँ पर प्यार. महात्मा गांधी प्रेम विवेके, महात्मा गांधी प्रेम विवेके, विश्व रहे एक धार. स्वागत सब जन इस मंदिर हो, भक्ति की स्वाति की धार, सुंदर सुमधुर गान हमारो, रंजन सब नर नार. तीर्थ भाया यहाँ लगावे, पुण्य यहाँ पर सार. तीर्थ भया यह भूत लगावे, पुण्य यहाँ पर सार. संगति संतन नीम चलावे, संगति संतन नीम चलावे, शोभन सब व्यवहार. स्वागत सब जन इस मंदिर हो, भक्ति की स्वाति की धार, सुंदर सुमधुर गान हमारो, रंजन सब नर नार. रंजन सब नर नार, रंजन सब नर नार. Devotees, at this time, I ask that we all please clasp our hands, close our eyes, focus our minds on the feet of Bhagwan. Focus our minds on the feet of Bhagwan as we commence with our puja and our prayers for this morning. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnata Purnamurachite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Ishavasyam Niram Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Magrudha Khasya Svidhanam Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahe Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. And we join together, devotees, as we commence in chanting the most powerful Gayatri Mantra. Om Magakshe Varade Devi Akshare Brahmavadini Gayatri Jagat Matar Vishwayoni Namostute Om Bhuri Bhuva Swam Tat Savitura Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat Om Bhuri Bhuva Swam Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat Om Bhuri Bhuva Swam Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Prem Se Bolo Gayatri Mata Ki Jai. As we continue on with our prayers, devotees, we offer prayers to that destroyer and remover of all obstacles in our life. We ask that as we pray, we remove any physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional obstacles on our way. We offer prayers to Lord Ganesh. Om Shri Ganganapataye Namaham. Om Gajananam Bhutaghanadhi Sevitam Kapita Jambu Palachara Bhakshanam Umasutam Shoka Vinashakarakam Namami Viganeshwara Pada Pankajam Om Vakritunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada Om Raksha Raksha Ganadhaksha Raksha Trailokya Rakshaka Bhaktanam Bhayam Karta Trata Bhava Bhavarnavar Om Shriman Mahaganadipate Namaham Prem Se Bolo Ganesh Bhagwan Ki Jai. As we continue on, devotees, we offer prayers to that Universal Mother and that destroyer of all evils in our life. We offer prayers to Adi Shakti and Durga Mata. Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swadha Namostute Jai Tvam Devi Chamunde Jai Putate Nihardini Jai Sarvagate Devi Kalaratri Namostute Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vishnu Mayavdi Shabdita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Samstitha Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Lakshmi Rupena Samstitha Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shraddha Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shanti Rupena Samstita Namastasye 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 namo namah. Ya Devi sarvabhuteshu tushtirupena samstitha. Namastasye 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 namo namah. Ya Devi sarvabhuteshu dayarupena samstitha. Namastasye 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 namo namah. Ya Devi sarvabhuteshu matrirupena samstita. Namastasye 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 namo namah. Dehi saubhagyam arogyam Dehi me paramam sukham Rupam Dehi jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Dvisho Jahi. Om Prim Svarwari Shakti Durga Mata Ki Jai. Devotees, we now offer prayers to that sustainer of all things dharmic, all things righteous in this universe. We offer prayers to Lord Vishnu. Om Shatakaram Mujaghasayanam Padmanabham Surisham Vishwadharam Gagana Sadrasham Meghavarnam Shubhangam. Om Lakshmi Kantam Kamalnayanam Yogi Bhira Dhyana Gamyam Vande Vishnu Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokye Kanatam. Om Sashankha Chakram Sakirita Kundhalam Sapita Vastram Sarasi Ruheshanam Sahara Vakshastala Shobhi Kaustubhashriyam Namami Vishnu Shirasa Chaturabhujam. Namami Vishnu Shirasa Chaturabhujam. Prem se Bolo Vishnu Bhagwan ki jai. And devotees, we continue on with offering prayers to that universal Father and that universal Guru, to that destroyer of all evils in our life. And in this universe, we offer prayers to Lord Vishnu and to Lord Shiva. Om Namaha Shivaya. Om Namaha Shivaya. Om Namaha Shivaya. Om Karapurang Haurang Karunavataram Samsara Saram Bhujagendraharam Sadhavasantam Hirdayardavinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. May we all join together as we chant the devotees. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Devotees, we offer this next prayer for all those suffering from various illnesses, diseases, injuries, and ailments. We ask that they may have a fast, speedy, and full recovery. We also offer a prayer for those transitioning from this world to the next. May the passage be a smooth and tranquil one. Om Trayambakam Yajamehe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityurmukshiyamamrutat. Om Trayambakam Yajamehe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan मृत्युर्मुक्षियो मामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्युर्मुक्षियो मामृतात् ॐ गणगणपतये नमः ॐ कार्तिकीये नमः ॐ नन्दीश्वराय नमः ॐ वासुकिये नमः ॐ श्री साम सदा शिवाय नमः ॐ प्रेम से शिव शंकर भगवान की जय. And the devotees will now hand the microphone over to our Kirtan group to offer Lord Shiva Bhajan.
रत्नैकपितुमासनं हिमजले स्नानं च देव्याम्बरं नानारत्नविभूषितं मृगमदा चन्दनं जाति चम्पक बिल्वपत्ररचितं पुष्पं च धूपं तथा दीपं देवदयानिधे पशुपते हृत्यकपितं ग्रहयताम् सौवर्णे नवरत्नखण्डरचिते पात्रे कृतं पायसं भक्ष्यं पञ्चविधं पयोदधियुतं रम्भाफलं पानकम् शाकानामयुतं जलं रुचिकरं कर्पूरखण्डोज्ज्वलम् ताम्बूलं मनसा मया विरचितम् यदयोः प्रदक्षिणविधि स्तोत्राणि सर्वा गिरो यद् यत् कर्म करोमि तत् दखिलं शम्भो तवाराधनम् करचरणकृतं वा कायजं कर्मजं वा श्रवणनयनजं वा मानसं वा पडाधं विहितं विहितं वा सर्वमेतत्समस्व जय जय करुणाब्धि जय जय करुणाब्धि श्रीमहादेव शम्भो।
Devotees, before we commence with our sermon today, I ask that if you have a guru, you join with me together as we clasp our hands and close our eyes and offer a prayer to our gurus. If not, then I ask that we take Lord Shiva in our mind and focus on Lord Shiva as the universal guru as we offer this prayer. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Prem se Guru Gurudeo ki jai. Devotees, during our sermon last week, we completed chapter 2 of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And we completed the chapter which talked about devotion, bhakti, things we need to do to be devoted. And such we ended chapter 2. But then when we start off at chapter 3, we have a very confused man. Arjuna does not understand fully to the extent what Bhagwan Shri Krishna was telling him and how it relates to his current situation. As we start off in chapter 3, we hear Arjuna state to Bhagwan Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Jayasi Chit Karmanas Te Mata Bhunir Janardana Tat Kim Karmani Ghoremam Neo Jayasi Kisava Vyamisrenaiva Vakyena Buddhi Mohaya Saiva Me Tad Ekamada Nischitya Yena Shreyoham Apnuyam Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Of course, Arjuna is understanding what devotion means in a sense. But at the same time, Arjuna is still in a very particular and difficult situation. You've got to understand that Bhagwan Sri Krishna is telling him things about being devoted to God. But what Arjuna doesn't understand is how does that relate to the current situation? He says, "Oh Janardana, you consider that intelligence related to devotion, things that are related to devotion, which is beyond mode, beyond physical form, is superior to action. That's how I've understood it, at least. So then tell me, why are you engaging me in this ghastly activity of fighting? Why are we here in the middle of war? Why have you agreed to be my charioteer? My intelligence is somewhat bewildered by your apparently ambiguous statements. Please, therefore, tell me decisively which path will be most beneficial for me." Of course, Arjuna himself was a great warrior. And as being a great warrior, it's very difficult for him to understand how he can sit down and detach himself from this sort of physical world and think about devotion. So he really wants to know, and he really wants to understand, what are you telling me? Now, I want you to understand this from a different perspective. We get told advice all the time, and sometimes it's not as easy to relate it to our current situation. I want you to understand that if anybody ever tells you something, you always have the right to ask a question beyond that. Because somebody says, that's the way it is, does not make it okay. Now, I'm going to relate this to two ways. The first way is for kids and their parents. Kids, if you ever have a question, I want you to ask the question. Doesn't matter who that person is, ask the question. It's better to understand, and it's better to get the answer than it is to ignore it. Now, for the parents, I do love my parents. I know my wife loves her parents. We love them all. But we have seen in the past where the answer is because I said so. I want you to understand that for some minds, that may not be the best answer. Because when they grow up not only with the understanding that they don't know what's going on, but there's a slight bit of spite in their heart. I can tell you that because they don't know what's going on. And when they're asked, why do they have to do things? They were said, because that's what I was told when I was a child. Let's take it back to another example. I, as a pundit, enjoy getting questions. If I don't know the answer, I will be honest with you, and I will tell you, I don't know the answer. Let me find out, and I'll get back to you. I know a lot of, I want to say kids. I'm not a kid. I'm 30 years old. I'm not a kid anymore. A lot of my fellow peers that are my age will ask me questions. And when they ask me questions, if I don't know the answer, I'll text them back, I don't know. I'll let you know in a little bit. Let me research, and I'll find the answer for you. But it's when a pundit sits down and says, because that's how it is. It's when a pundit gets asked a question, and maybe they don't know the answer, but they say, that's how it is when nobody learns. We're not educating anybody. What we're telling them is that you have to comply with what I'm telling you. I don't have to give you an explanation. But that's not sufficient. And then when somebody drills and says, well, I have a cousin. Her name is Steffi. And I can tell you when Steffi asks a pundit a question and the pundit doesn't answer a question, oh, she gets mad. She gets very mad. She'll lash out at the pundit. And I can't necessarily blame her in some of those instances because information is not being explained to her, and I don't blame her for that. So Bhagwan Shri Krishna, in this case, doesn't get angry because essentially Arjuna looked at him and asked him a question and said, you just told me all this stuff and it doesn't make sense. What am I supposed to do with this information? And of course, Bhagwan Shri Krishna doesn't get angry. He goes on to tell Arjuna, oh, sinless Arjuna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Lokismin Vividhanistha, Pura Prokatamaya Nagha, Jnana Yogena Samthyanam, Karma Yogena Yoginam, Na Karma Namanarambhan, Naiskaramyam Purusosnute, Na Chansamyasnareva, Siddhim Samadhi Gacchati, Nahi Kaschit Kshanamapi, Jato Chiste Akarmakrat, Karyarteya Avashkarma, Sarva Prakrit Jair Gune, Karamindriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyatan vimudhatma mithyachara sauchyate Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. He says, "O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained clearly that there are two types of firm faith in this world." So he's repeating himself. He's saying that I've explained there's two types of faith in this world. Some are inclined to understand their faith by empirical and philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service. So he said that there's two ways that we understand things. But without performing karma as prescribed in the Vedas, a person cannot attain knowledge in the form of niskarmya, nor can a person with an impure heart attain perfection merely by renouncing action. So he uses this word karma. And we hear this word all the time. We talk about it every once in a while, karma. What is our karma? Our karma, we say good karma and bad karma. But karma translates in this specific chapter, because remember, chapter 3 is titled Karma Yoga. Karma means action. What is our actions in this world? So he's saying a person with an impure heart cannot attain perfection merely by renouncing action. You can't just sit there and do nothing. We have to do something in our life. It's not enough just to be devoted. We have to have actions in this world. We have to perform actions. No one can remain without performing action, even for a moment. I guarantee you, those of you who are sitting at home, even though your legs are folded, maybe you're twiddling your thumbs, maybe you're moving your shoulders around. If you're stressed, I guarantee you that your forehead is scrunched and the tongue is stuck to the roof of your mouth. You're performing an action of some sort. So we can never stay without action even for a moment. Everyone is impelled to act under the influence of such qualities such as attachment, envy, and so on, which are born of this nature. A deluded person who forcibly controls his working senses while internally meditating on sense objects is known to be a pretender, a hypocrite, somebody who is fake. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna is telling us that we have to perform action. But we have to perform action in the correct and appropriate sense. That last part where he says a person who forcibly controls his senses while internally meditating on sense object is a hypocrite, that means it's somebody who does something but maybe acting in another sense. I was trying to figure out how to approach this topic last week, but as I was reading through this chapter, it made me realize how well I can connect this to what is going on today. Across the United States and all over America, we do see people that are protesting, and we have two words, protesting and rioting. So in a sense, their beliefs, what they know from their Vedas at least, and their Vedas could be books of religion or books of life, have dictated them that they need to take action. They need to do some sort of action. Because without that action, they're in turmoil. Now, looking at this last part where it says a person who forcibly controls his working senses while internally meditating on something different means that my mind is working on something completely different than how I'm acting. The reason I used protesting and rioting in a different sense is because you see, and what we've seen from the media, is that some of these riots, some of the negative things that are coming out from this are for people who don't necessarily support the movement. We understand that there's a hashtag Black Lives Matter. They're fighting for something because they're dictating that their actions must do so. But then we see people who are going and breaking into stores, robbing, stealing, and causing violence. But they're doing it under the means, they're performing these actions under the means of a protest to change the lives of people, when some people don't have that intent. It's not to say that Bhagavan Sri Krishna is stating that don't take action, but if you're going to take action, you've got to make sure that it aligns with your morals. If I relate it back to something a little bit lighter, Mahendra, my brother, called me afterwards. He goes, "You're really thinking about this." And it's the only thing I can think about to say is vegan apple pie. Again, I'm sorry. But it's like saying I'm on a diet, but all I can think about is that cheat day that I'm going to get at the end of the week. I'm going to perform an action at the end of the week that's destroying everything that I've set forth to today. I'll do this all the time while I eat some heavy amount of carbs. I'll say, okay, it'll be all right. I'll exercise it off tomorrow. But the damage has already been done. I've already consumed those carbs. I've already increased my caloric intake for the day. So even though I exercise tomorrow, that's not going to fix what's happening today because my mind isn't focused on the actions that I really want to take. Remember that if you take an action, you've got to mean it. When you perform your actions, it's your duty. Who am I, where am I going, and how am I going to get there? So how am I going to get there? What is my action and how am I going to do it? That's what he says. But then he goes on to state what exactly somebody who has devotion, controlled senses, and controlled actions is like. He goes on to tell Arjuna, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Yastvat Indrani Manasa Niyamyarabhate Ruchna Karmendriya Karma Yogham Asaktasa Visisyate Niyatam Guru Karmatvam Karma Jayo Hayarmana Sari Nayatra Pichatena Prasidhit Karamana Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. He says, O Arjuna, a person who performs action with his working senses, according to the scriptures, but who has controlled his senses by his mind and who is free from all fruitive desires, is superior to the hypocrite who refrains from activity. So he's saying that just thinking about something and supporting a cause, supporting a belief is not enough. The people who are truly good in this world are the ones who take action, control their senses, while upholding their beliefs at the same time. Going back to how we started this sermon off. Somebody asks you a question. You say that's how it is. They retort back and you get angry. That is you not upholding the belief that you have. Psychologically, what that dictates is that there's some sense of turmoil within your mind that causes you to lash out, whether you don't know or you don't believe it. It brings sin into your life. Perform your prescribed duties because action, karma, is better than inaction, akarma. If you refrain from action, you will not even be able to maintain your body. We do have discussions all the time about things that are going on in this world, whether it be politics, whether it be religion, current events. But what Bhagwan Krishna is saying is that if we refrain from doing anything, we won't be able to maintain this body. It happens all the time when we find something we're very passionate about, and we sit there and we think about it over and over and over and over again. And we think, how can I help? How can I perform? What can I do? And we spend so long thinking about that stuff that we never actually get a chance to take action. And it weighs on us. I'm not saying that I'm innocent of this. I'm also guilty of this. A great example for kids, adults too, because I know adults do this, and we use this word quite often, something called procrastination. We have a goal that we've set. We have something that we need to do. And we have actions that we need to take to complete those specific tasks. But if we don't take action, if we perform akarma, if we remain inactive, and we wait till the last second to perform action, our lives get that much worse. We're stressed out. We're mad. We're rushing. Anybody, I'm going to ask this philosophically. I know I can't see your hands, but anybody wait last second to do a project? I saw a few hands go up here. I saw some people pointing at other people. I know I personally have done that before. I I don't remember specifically. It was some sort of heritage day that we had in 7th grade, and I had to cook something and bring it into the school. But of course, 7th grade me didn't know how to cook like 30-year-old me does now. So what I did was the night before, I went up to my mom and said, "Mom, we need something for school. I need to bring something into school." Mom goes, "What do you need to bring?" I said, "We need to cook something." And this was about 8 o'clock at night. Mom goes, "You're telling me at 8 o'clock at night you got to cook something and bring it into school? What should we cook?" And I asked her, I said, "Mom, could you make a curry?" Mom goes, "I'm not going to make curry at 8 o'clock at night." So Mom ended up making, it wasn't butter prasad, but it was a prasad with the orange soda that they make sometimes. A little bit lighter on the end. I know that's not what we offer here at Mandarin Temple, but she had to make that for me. She was stressed out because she had to make it. She was helping me out, doing me a favor, but I was stressed out because she had to make it so late. I had to bring it into school and get judged for it, and I knew she was mad at me at the same time. Let's change the scenario. I know I can't change the past, but let's revamp and look at that scenario one other time. I asked my mom at the beginning of the week, "Mom, I need something to cook. I need some food to take in for my class on Thursday to describe part of my heritage." What are some of the things that you could have cooked in that time period? Curry, korma, paneer, chana. She could have cooked so many things because she had preparation and time. Another important part of that lesson, devotees, is that I could have learned how to cook at that time. You know how much Indian food I can cook right now? None. Still in the same spot. I can put the masala into the pot, I can stir it up, and I can put the food in and let it cook. Doesn't taste that good. I've done it twice before. It just didn't taste good. Right? But I could have learned at that time. So had I taken action at the appropriate time, not only could I have had something better as the end result, but I could have learned so much more in that time period. But here I am, 30 years old, and I can't cook Indian food. I can cook a lot of food, I just can't cook Indian food. Guyanese food, it doesn't matter. So had I taken the action, had I upheld a belief to know that I could have relieved stress, I could have done things ahead of time and appropriately and lived a smooth sailing week. No, I waited till the end, the night before, 8 o'clock, to live in turmoil, to not only have me stressed, but to have my poor mother, stressed out at the same time. So he's saying that if you have a belief, if you have something that needs to get done, you perform your action. That's why that question, these questions, who am I, where am I going, and how am I going to get there, is so hard. How am I going to get there? What actions am I going to take? How do I know it's the right action? How do I develop that over time? Unfortunately, devotees, we have to make mistakes. We make mistakes to learn. But in order to make a mistake, we've got to take action. We've got to perform it. By running away, by not performing your action, is going to be much more harmful for you than if you perform that action, make a mistake, and learn from it. Bhagavan Sri Krishna goes on to state, finally, the last two verses that I'm going to talk, verses 9 and 10 of chapter 3 of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He goes on to state, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, 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 Yajnaratar Karmano Anyatra Lokoyam Karma Bandhana Hadharatam Karma Kaunteya Mukta Sangha Samachara Sahayajna Praja Srstva Purno Acha Prajapati Anena Prasvisyadhavam Esa Vostva Istha Madhu Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. I'm going to sum up verse 9 into one thing that Bhagwan Krishna tells Arjuna. He says, perform appropriate actions solely for his satisfaction, for the satisfaction of Bhagwan Vishnu. If you think that sounds absurd, I want you to understand that when we perform actions for this world, we're performing actions for ourselves, but we also perform actions thinking of other people. I don't know how many of us have ever thought this, but I've never thought once in my life that I want my parents to be disappointed in me. So I perform actions with the intent that I want to make them proud. I never once in this world wanted my wife to be mad or disappointed at me. So when I perform actions for her, I perform them with the intent of making her life better, to make her happy as well. When I'm sitting here and talking, I know that if I say something incorrect or if I say something that sounds silly, my sister's going to laugh at me. I know she's watching, and I know I've made a few mistakes, and I know that she's went, ha ha, and laughed at me once or twice. But I speak, and I attempt to speak with elegance, so I know that she can sit there and be like, that's my brother, not ha ha. That's me. I shouldn't do it, but I did it. I perform actions in this world, and I try to do good, living up to the example of my older brother, one of the most selfless people that I know. So when it says perform actions solely for his satisfaction, if you're about to perform something, think to yourself, would Bhagwan be happy with me if I did this? Let's say you choose to go out and protest and support a cause. Let's say you decide to go support the Black Lives Matter movement. Ask yourself, would Bhagwan be happy with me if I supported these people? I guarantee you the answer is going to be yes. Because if you go against them, if you go against supporting human life, you're not living up to the expectations of Bhagwan. If you decide to hurt, harm, anger, dismay anybody in this world, you're going against the teachings of Bhagwan. So always ask yourself, this is what he's saying, if you're going to perform action, ask yourself, will Bhagwan be happy if I perform this action? If I decide to yell at the person who cut me off on the road, I use car examples all the time because it happens to me, and I yell at them, will Bhagwan be happy with me? No, because I'm exuding anger. I'm giving an example of something that we shouldn't be doing in this world. Even though nobody's around me, even though nobody sees that, that still affects me. That's still part of the person who I am, and it shouldn't be the part of the person of who I am. He goes on to say that in the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, Bhagwan Brahma, created generations of men and demigods who were qualified to perform yajna. He then blessed them by saying, may you prosper by this yajna and may you fulfill all your desires. Now the question here, devotees, is what does yajna mean? We say that word all the time. Pandit, I want to have a puja. Pandit, I want to have a yajna. But what does yajna mean? Specifically, in translated to English, yajna means something that we'll talk about next week on our regular Sunday morning service here on the Mandir webpage, our YouTube webpage. But for now, devotees, Prem Swadha Krishna Bhagwan Ki Jai. Devotees, at this time, we will hand the mic over to our Kirtan group for another song before we commence with our closing prayers.
Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Jai Gopi Janavallabha Jai Girivardhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunja Bihari. Murali Manohar करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर जय गोवर्धनधारी जय गिरवरधारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन जमुना तीर वनचारी जय गिरवरधारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare
Devotees, at this time I ask them, may we all please clasp our hands, close our eyes, focus our minds on the feet of Bhagwan as we offer these final and closing prayers. Om Sarvesham Swasti Bhavatu Sarvesham Shanti Bhavatu Sarvesham Purunam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Om Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Mantrahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktahinam Janardanam Yatya Pujitam Maya Deva Paripurnam Dharastu Me Papoham Papu Karmaham Papo Atma Papu Sambhava Trahimam Pundari Kaksham Sarva Papu Haro Hari Om Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Saka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Asatoma Sadhamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Mritam Gamaya Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Om Jao Shanti शांतिर सर्वे गुण शांतिर शांतिरेव शांति सामा शांतिरेधि हरि ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम तत्सत प्रेम से बोलो गणेश भगवान की जय प्रेम से बोलो आदि शक्ति दुर्गा माता की जय प्रेम से बोलो विष्णु भगवान की जय प्रेम से बोलो शिव शंकर भगवान की जय प्रेम से बोलो शिव शक्ति मंदिर की जय प्रेम से बोलो सनातन धर्म की जय Devotees, before we hand the mic over to our president for a few announcements, we'll have one more song from our Kirtan group and then we will wrap up our puja for today.
तू है सच्चा पिता सारे संसार का राम प्यारा तू ही है रक्षा हमारा तू है सच्चा पिता सारे संसार का राम प्यारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा चांद सूरज सितारे बनाए पृथ्वी आकाश पर्वत सजाए चांद सूरज सितारे बनाए पृथ्वी आकाश पर्वत सजाए अंत पाया नहीं तेरा पाया नहीं परवारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा तू है सच्चा पिता सारे संसार का राम प्यारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा पक्षी गणराज सुंदर है गाते जीवन जंतु बिसर है झुकाते पक्षी गणराज सुंदर है गाते जीवन जंतु बिसर है झुकाते उसको है सुख मिला तेरा राह पर चला जो प्यारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा तू है सच्चा पिता सारे संसार का राम प्यारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा पाप पाखंड हमसे चुराओ विरमा कैप हमको चराओ पाप पाखंड हमसे चुराओ विरमा कैप हमको चलाओ लगे भक्ति में मन करे संध्या हवन जग सारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा तू है सच्चा पिता सारे संसार का राम प्यारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा अपनी भक्ति मेरे मन लगाना काशी नंदलाल से अब मिटाना अपनी भक्ति मेरे मन लगाना काशी नंदलाल के सब मिटाना दुखी कन वालों का और धन वालों का तू सहारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा तू है सच्चा पिता सारे संसार का राम प्यारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा तू है सच्चा पिता सारे संसार का राम प्यारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा तू ही है रक्षक हमारा
Sita Ram devotees. And again, thank you all for joining us this wonderful morning in our virtual satsang. Again, I would like to thank Pandit Avi, Miss Serena, Dr. Danny Sakai, by Tim, by Nindira and Nidra, and also Miss Kamini for joining us here this morning. We also want to welcome families and friends from Canada, New York, New Jersey, Florida, Texas, Chicago, and our very own Georgia family to our virtual satsang. And for those that I state that I have not mentioned, if you're listening to us, welcome. This weekend will be our 7th weekend in continuing our mandir cleanup, repairs, and refresh. I want to thank those of you that have reached out to us with your words of encouragement, and those that have shown up here to lend a physical hand in our repairs. I will tell you, Dr. Danny was with us yesterday, and after about 8 hours worth of work, he was totally exhausted. So were the rest of the people that were working here yesterday. So we're slowly transforming our mandir condition that have been put off for quite some time, and we're very pleased with the progress. We still have a few more weekends that will continue to continue with our repairs and cleanup. I especially want to give a thanks to our young adults who have come together and have made a significant donation to help defray the cost of the repairs. Also want to send a big thank you or a shout out to the New Jersey family. We thank you for your generous donations. And for all those that have either pledged material or cash finances to help to defray the cost of our repair expenses. So thank you all very much. I just want to mention something to our audience. The road that we travel in life will often determine who you are, where you're going, and the purpose of your life. I will tell you, 31 years ago, we were in a foreign land, my wife and I, with our 2 young ones, and she was pregnant with Pandit Avi. And at the birth of Pandit Avi, we had no family support to help us with, be it a religious event that we want to hold or just a family structure. And we ran into this couple. And we introduced ourselves to them, they introduced themselves to us, and we became friends. This was 31 years ago. 2 years later, my family and I left Europe and came back to the United States. And we were in the States for about 3 weeks when I received a call that my friend, who we have met in Europe, suffered a heart attack, and he was evacuated to the United States. A few years later, he went through a heart transplant. And I want to say thanks to the Almighty that he's doing well, he's healthy. But both him and his wife have remained great friend, or more so family to us. He was there to help us along the way. His wife was there to help us along the way. And they have religiously been listening to our satsang, our virtual satsang, every Sunday morning. So Raj and Zandra, I want to give a big shout out to you for your friendship, for your support, and for being like family to us. So thank you very much. We wish you, and we continue to wish you great health, happiness, and prosperity in life. So thank you all very, very much. And more importantly, thank you for being there for us when we needed someone in our lives. In addition to that, there are special people today that are celebrating special days in their life. First and foremost, I would like to give a big shout out to Ramesh and Shireen, celebrating their anniversary this week. Also to by Tim and by Steve Patrick for celebrating their birthdays this week. By Hinrupa, celebrating her birthday And a special birthday wish to the godmother of my two sons, Mahindra and Avi. I want to say happy birthday to their godmother, Rohini, celebrating her birthday. So happy birthday, godmother, to you, and wishing you and all of you much health, happiness, and prosperity in life. Please join us again next Sunday at 10 a.m. for our virtual satsang. And again, thank you all very much for your support, for your kind words, and for your involvement in your mandir. God bless. Thank you. Sita Ram.